nicknames oftentimes seek to nudge reality. Other times, they set up nothing but irony. On nights like tonight, the city of brotherly love puts an iconic twist on its own moniker. One city, united for a common goal. Their sights set on an uncommon opponent. On nights like tonight, legends are forged from the hate, the angst, the intensity. Nights like tonight just mean more. It always means more. And this time around, it's no different. It's the undefeated against the underrated. Birds, boys. Another chapter is about to begin.
Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The city of brotherly love will not be lovely tonight. It is tough to find two teams, two fan bases with so much disdain for one another than Dallas and Philadelphia in prime time on Sunday Night Football. And we are here from the Star in Frisco on Cowboys Pregame Live, leading you up to kickoff at 7:20 on NBC. Alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans, alongside these three former Cowboys as we have first place on the line tonight. The Cowboys coming in at 4-1. They've won 4 straight, going up against the final undefeated team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. And winner takes first place, and with the Giants win earlier today, the loser actually falls to third place in the division, more notably for the Cowboys, who would then be below the Giants. The Eagles would be tied, but the Giants have a better strength of schedule to this point in the season. But gentlemen, put that aside itself for a little bit, because the rivalry feels like it's back between Philadelphia and Dallas. Barry, why does this game and this rivalry just mean more?
It just means more because, look, there's bad blood on both sides. And this is a rivalry. It's not like one side is just killing the other side. All right, both of these guys go back and forth. You got Cooper Rush out there starting. He's had a 4-game win streak right now. That defense is playing outstanding for the Cowboys. This is must-see TV on primetime. You got to check it out.
I'm not mad at you, Barry, and I think it means more just simply because of Kellen Moore. Okay. And what they did over there in Philadelphia this offseason. They did everything they possibly could to make sure that this defense was made form fit to go ahead and combat what Dallas Cowboys have done offensively in history, not necessarily this year. So, Kellen Moore, what can you show up with this game?
You know what, fellas, y'all are hype, y'all sound good, but if the Cowboys can win this one here, it'll be big in December. This is what you plan for right now. You're setting yourself up to be either first or third, but guess what? Come December, you want to be sitting at number 1.
Yeah, it's just the third time in the Super Bowl era that two teams in the NFC East are competing against each other with a 90-plus percentage winning so far combined between them two. Only the third time. And a big reason the Cowboys have had a 4-1 start to the season has been Cooper Rush. Coming in replacement of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott again inactive today. We'll hear an update from him a little bit later on in the show. But gentlemen, Cooper Rush has done what he's needed to do to this point. How does he keep that going against Philadelphia?
Well, he's got to continue to doing what he's doing, like you just said, and that's taking care of the football. I mean, we looked at what he's done so far. He's been a manager of this game so far. He hasn't put the ball in harm's way. He's thrown the ball extremely accurate when asked to do so. And there's always a moment, maybe 2 or 3 moments here throughout the game, that he goes out there and he performs some magic for this team. So hopefully he can continue to do that against this Philadelphia defense tonight.
Hopefully he can, you know what I'm saying? But I think he's going to need to do more. I think being that he hasn't thrown over 250 yards this year, the running game is going to be challenged tonight because of the defensive line and interior defensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I believe he's got to put the ball in the air. When you put the ball in the air, he's done a good job protecting it. Number 1 in the league in terms of preventing turnovers and not turning the ball over. But Philadelphia is what? They're number 1 in the league by taking the ball away. So everything's going to be on the line tonight in terms of a turnover margin.
Jonathan Gannon is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. He's not going to let us run the ball, fellas. They're going to shut that down. We need for this young man to throw for maybe 250, but he has to have at least 4 passes over 1,500 yards. I mean, 15 yards or more.
Yeah, it really has been fantastic to see what Cooper Rush has done. It's only the 6th time that 2 divisional quarterbacks, 4-0 or better, have faced off in a week. at any point in the season. 4 of the 5 winners of that matchup previously have gone to the Super Bowl later in the season. This is the 6th time 4 of the 5 winners have gone to the Super Bowl after they won this matchup. Cooper Rush trying to win another one. He's 5-0 in his career, 4-0 this season as a starter, looking to go 6-0, and he's going to do so against Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're a good group. They're good at all 3 levels. I think everything starts up front. They're deep and they're good pass rushers, good against the run. And then the secondary with the 2 corners, they trust those guys back there and let those 2 safeties just kind of go play ball. So it's a good group. It's a huge challenge for us, but we're excited.
Ask CeeDee Lamb the same question, but from a quarterback perspective, what do you think will be the biggest key, or what are the biggest keys to kind of exiting Philly with a win?
Yeah, always it's, every week it's, big play production and, staying on the field. We got to convert 3rd downs and then put points on the board, whether it's 3 or 7. We got to get points. And, a big focal point is our red zone and 3rd down right now. So a lot of emphasis on it this week, and it'll be a big-time addition for us on Sunday.
What's been the primary issue on 3rd down, just the length of distance you've had to go?
Yeah, that's always plays a factor. I mean, that's pretty much the stats tell you that one. I thought we were good last week, getting more 3rd and shorts and converting. So we just want to sustain drives, We feel like we can get rhythm going. Kellen can get a rhythm. We all can get a rhythm if we just keep getting drives going and get our defense a rest.
Up in Minnesota last year, that was a hostile environment. It was very loud, but what are you looking forward to about the Philly crowd this weekend, if any?
Yeah, Philly's always a crazy place to play. It's a fun environment. We played a lot of Sunday night games there. And so the guys will be juiced, both sides will be juiced, stadium will be rocking. So it'll be a tough environment for us to communicate. We've trained with it, we've done it before, but it's never easy. But we're looking forward to it.
Is there something special about Sunday night after being able to get your first win last year on Sunday Night Football for you?
No, it's cool to play there, but the rest of the week kind of sucks. Get home late Monday night or early Monday morning, things like that. But no, it's going to be a cool environment. Should be a beautiful night, and so we're looking forward to it.
Cooper Rush looking to win again in primetime. He's 2-0 under those primetime lights, but this is his first chance against the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's go out to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia and join the 5th member of our squad, Nick Eatman. And Nick, sometimes out in Philadelphia, it's snowballs, it's eggs, something thrown at the bus. How was the ride in this morning? Did everybody make it okay? Is everybody there in peace?
Yeah, everyone made it, and the only thing different about this ride in was just that there were a ton of people, ton of fans, more traffic than you're used to seeing this early. Everybody's ready for this one, of course. The tailgate looked like it was maybe 2 hours before game, and it was 4.5 hours. I just think the anticipation for this one, you can already feel it a little bit in the stadium. The fans aren't even all the way in yet, but you can tell this seems like a game where a team is 5-0, and they really hate the team that's 4-1 that's coming in. That's just what it feels like.
I can certainly see that. And with that being said, of course, the emotions run high on both sides of this rivalry. What has been the message from Mike McCarthy and his coaching staff this week to make sure that everybody's on the same page whenever kickoff finally comes?
Well, I think the message is, I think it's okay to say this is a big game. We know this. We know when you have a team that's undefeated, the only undefeated team in the NFL, it's in your division. They're leading your division. When you look at your goals, the goals are go out and win the NFC East. Obviously, that puts you in the playoffs, and with a home game in the playoffs. So it's okay to say this is a big game. Let's treat it as such. They're all big, of course, when you play 17. But the stakes are high. You can't do too much, play within yourselves, but at the same time, seize the moment.
You got to seize the moment, and Dak Prescott took a moment earlier prior to really the stretching for the Cowboys to try and unwind a little bit with that thumb injury and see how he can throw the football. How did he look, and what are your expectations with him moving forward?
Well, I know we're really only worried about one thumb for him, but I would give it a 2 thumbs up. And that was my corny dad joke of the day. But I thought he looked really good. He was zipping that ball in there. And to me, the most impressive part wasn't even the throw. It was the shotgun snap. The snaps under center. Taking snaps, actually, the ball obviously hitting the thumb, being able to drop back, throw it. He was firing it in there pretty good. He didn't look like a guy that was too banged up. I mean, I think he could play tonight. He's obviously inactive, but so next week against the Lions, he certainly seems like he would be ready to go.
Any updates on Dalton Schultz as well? Did he try and make it out there and try and stretch it out? I know earlier in the week they said he was taking off the brace, but the fact that he's inactive, did something happen pregame?
I don't think anything happened pregame. I think it was more maybe yesterday when they have a little practice. Same thing that happened with Simi Fehoko as well, but it happened in that walkthrough. I just think it was more of a discomfort thing, and it's surprising a lot of people around here because they, coaches, some trainers, they weren't really anticipating this one so much with Dalton Schultz. So still trying to figure out exactly what happened. Kind of a little bit of a setback, obviously, for him to not play. But I think it was a situation where the Cowboys were thinking he was going to be ready to go. So this is where the rules of the practice squad really help, where you can bring the Sean McEwen up, and they knew that was happening yesterday. But still, he'll be on the roster. He'll be Ferguson, Hendershot, and Sean McEwen at tight end.
Nick Eatman joining us from Lincoln Financial Field. Nick, thanks so much. We'll check in with you later in the show. So we just talked about it there. Nothing for Dalton Schultz in this ball game as we welcome in Nate Newton to talk about the inactive list. So, Nate, without Dalton Schultz in the fold, he just mentioned it. Sean McEwen is the guy that they brought up in order to try and supplement some of that production. But really the focus is on Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson, two rookie tight ends. How much has your confidence level waned since you heard about the Dalton Schultz news?
None, because I believe that Jason Ferguson is a better blocker, and I think that Peyton Hendershot is our deep threat tight end anyway. So with those two guys bringing in McEwen to help block, they'll be okay. When they go two tight ends, I'll tell you, Jason Ferguson can handle his business and McEwen can handle his, and we'll be able to get outside and run the ball.
With Dalton Schultz specifically out of the fold, what are you missing from his skill set that you don't necessarily get with those two guys?
Well, he knows where to be. He knows how to get into the zones. He knows how to work himself free. But other than that right now, I'm telling you, Jason Ferguson is ready.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson specifically, the rookie fourth-round pick out of Wisconsin, somebody that the Cowboys feel really good about. But even Peyton Hendershot has come on as an undrafted rookie, as a guy they could stretch the field with. And talking with Linda Wells, the tight end coach for the Cowboys, they feel really confident in his ability to stretch the field and go out and get the football. It's something to keep an eye on as we get deeper into this ball game. Here are the rest of the inactives for the Cowboys today against the Eagles. Dak Prescott right up at the top of the list. There was a little bit of a question. He was listed as questionable on whether or not he would be available tonight, maybe in a backup role. That is not the case. It will be Will Grier as the backup to Cooper Rush. A couple other names on the list. Devin Harper, who's been playing on special teams. He's not in the fold. And then Matt Willetsko at the tackle spot is out today along with Dalton Schultz. So that means Jason Peters is back and making his return to Philadelphia. He played for the Eagles from 2009 to 2020, Nate, and having him back in the fold is interesting. What do you expect from him being on that offensive line if he does play a significant amount?
Kyle, I've said it 1,000 times, and I believe this with all my heart. I like unity. I like continuity. If he's your guy, and if you're working him in, now is the time to put him in and let him go 60 to 70 snaps. Let him go through the ups and downs. If not, keep Connor McGovern in there because he seemed to be working real well with Tyler Smith, our left tackle. You don't want to get into a tight part of the game with maybe 30 seconds left and you going down to try to score, get in field goal position, and these two guys have a game or a stunt or something that they haven't worked together. Yeah. I'm talking about Peterson and Tyler Smith, where Connor McGovern and Tyler Smith have worked together. I like continuity so everybody can be on the same page and your quarterback won't have extra stress on him in passing situations.
If he does not play, and it is indeed Connor McGovern that gets up there and has those snaps, do you expect him to still play an impact from maybe a leadership role and a talking role on the sideline?
Always. The kid, Tyler Smith, loves him. I mean, he's gold for him. So you let him stay there and he continue to give that information, but go with one or the other. But let them go 60 to 70 snaps. Let them play the entire game. That way we can get some continuity.
Yeah, something to look forward to. And Jason Peters specifically, he's been looking forward to this rivalry because he's been on the other side of it for so long. He was so vocal during his time in Philadelphia about how much he could not stand the Dallas Cowboys, but he's not alone in that fact. Both sides certainly hate each other. And with more on how special this rivalry really is, here's Haley Sutton.
Well, it's a rivalry that dates back to the 1960s, and since then, things have gotten a little nasty. Now the Cowboys head into one of the most hostile environments in the NFL, with a chip on their shoulder and victory on their mind. Whether it's the Bounty Bowls, Emmitt Smith's 1993 Halloween game, or the fastest touchdown scored in NFL history, when it comes to iconic matchups, this rivalry has them all.
I think anytime you have division games and rivalry games and, the history and, and we'll definitely educate our younger players on, with their, the arena that they're getting ready to compete in. But this is a game obviously means a lot. Both teams are, they're undefeated. We're 4-1. So, all that plays into it. But, the division games to me are always the most fun, most competitive.
But this team knows better than anyone. In this rivalry, the past is just that.
The rivalry between us two since I've been here has been, I think, our biggest rivalry, and especially up front. They've got a ton of good D linemen, a ton of early pick D linemen who have been there for a long time. So it was kind of that battle of the trenches that we've always had versus them, and it looks like it's going to be that way again this year. They got a lot of the same cast they've had for a long time, and they're playing extremely well right now. So we're going to have our work cut out for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Having the two division games before this, you kind of get a sense of what these division games mean. And then coming in today and just hearing and reiterating, hey, it's a division week, but it's also Philly week. And then you kind of get that sort of feel, everywhere you go.
The Cowboys, who have won 4 straight with Cooper Rush behind center, will have to contend with an Eagles team who has yet to be beaten this season, thanks to a quarterback who's shown steady improvement game in and game out.
See, me and Jalen Hurts go back to 4 or 5 years of age, so it's always kind of personal between me and him. I played him in high school. It was rivalries in high school, and then my senior year, he was a junior, and then he beat me on the Hail Mary pass my senior year. So, yeah, this is pretty personal between me and him.
But before the boys can even get to the game plan against Jalen Hurts, they have to get to the field first on a long and daunting bus ride to Lincoln Financial Field, surrounded by the Philadelphia faithful. To say it's unwelcoming is an understatement.
Philly fans are extremely passionate, and obviously when the Cowboys come into town, they don't have much love for us. So, but again, in my experience in those hostile environments, it kind of brings everyone kind of closer together because there's such a premium on communication and keeping your emotions level. So I think it brings out the best in us.
I can't lie and say when you walk in that stadium, you won't acknowledge what's happening. So, yeah, you would do that, but it's time to get to work, and we know what we got to do when we get there.
As they head into Eagles territory, no one is more equipped to be the general leading this team than former Philly guard Jason Peters. While it's a homecoming for the 9-time Pro Bowler, make no mistake, as far as Philly fans are concerned, he's on the wrong side of this battle.
They're going to be feisty, they're going to be throwing stuff, talking all kind of noise, but we'll be ready. I got my first Super Bowl there. And like I said, I laid a lot of bricks there. In Philly, that's my city. And just to go back, it'll be great to beat them.
A Dallas win would vault the Cowboys into first place of the NFC East, a feat that seemed fantasy just a few weeks ago. Two teams, both with something to prove. And in this battle of the big dogs, the Cowboys hope it's the underdogs who come out on top.
We're grateful for every opportunity we get to, go out there and battle every Sunday. But this one's a big one. More importantly, about us going out there we're focusing on winning in this division, and the only way we can do that is by beating everybody in the division. So just keeping that mindset going into Sunday, and we'll see what happens.
How sweet it would be to hand Philadelphia a special of their own. Now, Sunday Night Football, familiar territory for both the Cowboys and the Eagles. They have met 15 times on Sunday night, and the Cowboys have the edge 8-7. We will see who wins this one coming up tonight. I'm Haley Sutton in the studio. Back over to you.
Thank you very much, Haley. And Mike McCarthy said it a couple weeks ago that this team is nobody's underdog. He was certainly adamant about that, and they've continued to carry that mindset over the last few weeks into what is the biggest game of the year to this point between these two rivals. And with so much at stake in the division, it always means more. And we've kind of said that a couple times in the show already, but you guys have both played in it. And it's not the same until you've actually played in the rivalry. So, Nate, I want you to take me through a specific game. Let's go back to 1991 and a little trip down memory lane. This was a matchup that stood out to you. Why was this one the one you wanted to talk about?
Because The game before that, we were at home and gave up 11 sacks to the Philadelphia Eagles. Coach Johnson came in the following Monday and said, the next time we play these guys are down the road, we're going to gouge, we're going to hold, we're going to do everything we can to stop them from sacking us. So we was going up there. We was on a playoff run for the first time in a long time. We not only beat them, but we broke the game open in the second half with an 89-yard punt return by Kevin Martin. We were 9 for 31, Steve Berline. We only had 11 first downs. They was dominating us. I gave up the only sack to Reggie White. But at the end of the day, when the season was over, we was marching to Soldier Field to take out the Bears.
Okay, but you gave up the one sack, but you dominated Reggie White the entire game. We went back and watched the film. This wasn't a one-way deal at all.
God bless his soul, Reggie. Don't believe that, what they saying. You the man. Reggie White, one of the greatest players ever, and I got to show my love to him.
It
you
is.
know what I'm saying? But I did get him.
You did. But I did get him. I got him. You just wanted to fit that in there. Barry, you led the team in tackles in this matchup back in 2014. Everybody remembers this one. This was not that long ago, but it feels like it was yesterday because of how much disdain there was between the two sides, right?
This had to probably be my favorite game wearing the star on my helmet. Wow. I mean, it was remarkable, the tension leading up into this game. Because similar to Nate, we had played them about 2 weeks earlier, and they wiped the floor with us. I mean, Shady McCoy, the running back then, he was doing his bird dance out there. That you had, I mean, Brent Selleck and Ertz, they were going crazy out there. So we knew coming into that game, if we won, we had a playoff berth. So the tensions were extremely high on both sides. Dez Bryant and Malcolm Jenkins, the safety at the time for the Eagles, had to be separated in pregame. I mean, it was just tensions were flying everywhere. We heard fans were talking all type of noise. But as soon as we got that victory, you could hear a pin drop in that stadium. It was extremely quiet. It was one of the best feelings you ever had. We were over there doing our little own bird dance. It's over. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. I mean, it was an amazing experience out there. One of my favorite games wearing a star.
So as tough as it is to play in Philadelphia, it's just as rewarding as any other game in the regular season slate if you can get a win in Philadelphia, right?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, playing at the Lincoln, getting a win, I mean, that's got to be one of the highlights of your career, especially as a team going in there and doing it. It's not an easy task at all.
Back in the day, it was the vet. The vet, it was all concrete, man, like playing out here on this floor, man. All concrete. You got bloody, you got dirty. I mean, you had Jerome Brown, you had Reggie White, you had Clyde Simmons. The list goes on and on. They had a Hall of Fame group when I was there, giving up 13 points a game.
Wow. Yeah, that defense was nasty, and you stood them up. You did what you could with this defense specifically, and what the Eagles are bringing to the table this time around. It looks like both sides of the football are really strong. How does Dallas control their emotions enough in a game as heightened as this one in order to go out there and convert the way that they should?
You know what? Just go out and hit somebody. That's how football players relieve themselves. We go out and we're looking for that first major hit. And once you get your first series in as an offense, and your offensive line pull you together, offensive line coach pull you together and say, okay, what did you see? How did you want to do it? And then everything just start clicking, and you find out who you are.
Now, you're 100% right. As a defender, once you get that first hit, you get your bell rung a little bit, everything calms down. And Mike McCarthy has done a great job with this team overall, making them a more disciplined team out there. The penalties have come way down from last year and from the beginning of this season. So if they keep that same track, they should have a great chance over there at the Link.
So how many times did you play against Philadelphia in total? Do you remember?
Oh, it's got to be at least 8 to 10 times.
8 or 10 times? How many did you play?
I played with the Cowboys maybe 11, 12 years, man. Two times a year, sometimes
probably 20,
depending on if they can make it to the playoffs.
But really, if you look across this Cowboys roster, there's nobody on there that really has understood this rivalry as well as DeMarcus Lawrence. He's played in 15 games. This is his 15th against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he knows what he's doing when he's talking to the media earlier in the week, trying to hype this thing up a little bit.
You know, it's just trying to put as much pressure on the quarterback, making him uncomfortable, you know, as much as possible. It really ain't no science to this, you know what I'm saying? Football is played at a high speed, and, you know, being able to attack and be relentless, you know, all 4 quarters, that's what the game is all about. So, you know, we just play our style.
Is this the biggest challenge your defense faced this season? From an offensive standpoint?
Yes, it will be a good test for us. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, they do have a pretty good offense. They got a good receiver core, good quarterback, good offensive line. So, they well-rounded, but also we them boys. Remember that. Don't worry about it. Y'all will see it on Sunday. So that's all it took.
You know what they can do running the football, fourth in the league right now. You guys had a really good lead last week stopping the run, but there's been moments this season. What's the key to being more consistent this season?
Yeah, man. I say more technique sound. Not trying to. I feel like there's so many plays out there to be made. Everybody is going for them on our defense, so. Just being more technique sound, staying in our gaps, making sure we're not trying to, do our brother's job and just do our job.
What have you seen differently from Hurts, how he's grown? I know you guys have faced him twice as a starter, but he's taken a real step this year.
Hey, how about this? That's the last question I'm here about Hurts. For real, though.
You talk a lot about
Because I really don't care.
D-Law is right, stoking the fire a little bit by saying, well, Philly has not seen Dallas, but Dallas has not seen Jalen Hurts at this point in the season. He's undefeated in his last 8 starts to go along with the statistics that you just saw, and he's also had 15 touchdowns and 300 yards per game in his last 8 starts. So Nate Newton, Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback, we'll hear from them in just a second. But Nate, when you look at Jalen Hurts, how much does he challenge this defense compared to some of the other quarterbacks they've seen so far?
When you look at this kid from last year, he couldn't throw. I mean, he looked like he was unprepared a whole lot of games. He looked like he couldn't make things happen. But something has happened to this kid. He's matured. He can throw the ball. He can throw the ball with accuracy now. He can get it downfield. He can throw it off the run. So he's a different kid. And plus, when he takes off and run, he's real special.
He had more than 200 passing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns last week. It was the 3rd time in his career he's hit both of those milestones in the same game. Only Cam Newton and Steve Young have more games like that throughout their career since the Super Bowl era began. So what does Dallas need to do to slow him down? Do they have to have that edge container? Are they going to spy him? I mean, what are some of the ways that they could look that direction?
It's multiple ways you attack this kid. You spy on him. Don't let him run. But I will play him down in distance. 1st and 10, I'm making sure he don't run. I'm staying home. I'm being very, very disciplined. And 3rd and long, 2nd and long, I'm blitzing. I'm bringing the heat. I'm going to make this kid, I'm going to rush him. Because now he seems to be a more porous quarterback. This kid hasn't played under pressure. And this is what Dan Quinn can bring, is pressure. Stay in your lanes, but bring the pressure. Make sure they don't know where Parsons at. If they don't know where Parsons at, we can get after this guy.
That's also a huge key for this Dallas defense. Keep Jalen Hurts off balance. He's in a system with Nick Sirianni and company that keep him on balanced all the way through. They keep him balanced throughout. However, Dallas can't throw him off. Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback both went out to the field earlier this week and were able to teach exactly how you could slow down Jalen Hurts. Let's go to that.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Isaiah Stanback with no other than my main man, Mr. Barry Church.
Yes, sir.
And we're here to break down the matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. This amazing defense of the Dallas Cowboys has been playing lights out. However, they're running into a Mr. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Good
okay,
matchup.
So they would run something called a RPO. What is an RPO?
Run, pass, option.
And that creates a lot of problems for a lot of teams. They've been very successful with that as they're at the top of the league offensively in terms of rushing, and they're getting the ball and spreading it out to all their receivers, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. So we're going to show you guys exactly what the dangers are, and then Mr. Micah Parsons today, a.k.a. Barry Church, is going to show you.
We're the same size.
Is going to show you guys exactly how to stop it. So let's get straight into it.
Let's do it.
One of the first things that you guys are going to see, you're going to see Mr. Jalen Hurts, that's me today, okay, in the gun. Usually he's going to have Miles Sanders either offset, either right or left side, or in the pistol formation, which is right behind him. So today, imagine that there's a Mr. Miles Sanders right here. One of the things they do really well is run the zone scheme. One of the things that's on film for the Dallas Cowboys right now is open back doors. You don't want to leave it open. So he's going to be doing everything offensively based off of Micah Parsons, and then whoever's playing the defense in position, you're going to see right here, we're going to get the snap, boom, he's coming up. As soon as he does that right there, he is going to pull the ball. You don't want to hand the ball off to a running back that's coming downhill to get smacked up by Mr. Micah Parsons.
Oh, you don't want that.
What you're going to do is, as soon as he sees that, he's going to fake the run, and now he's got one of two options. He's either going to tuck the ball and he's going to out on the edge. You don't want Jalen Hurts on the edge. Or they usually have receivers out, 2 or 3 receivers out to the side in a bunch formation that usually out outnumbers the defenders, and he's able to come out and give it a nice little screen pass. Nice little quick pop passes. If he decides to come downhill, like he just did, those are the two options. But if he decides to go upfield, now you're giving the ball to Mr. Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is now going to follow the track of his offensive lineman, and he's looking for that cutback lane. He'll follow the guard, put his foot in the ground, and he's looking for the home run hit right here. Those are the three things that you have to account for and be cognizant of when you're playing against Jalen Hurts in this Philadelphia offense. But Mr. Barry Sanders, a.k.a. Micah Parsons, what do you do to stop that?
Look, there's one thing that this defense needs to do to stop this RPO, because we know RPO, they play with the defender's eyes, especially that second-level defense with those linebackers. So we know they got a lot on their plate. So Micah Parsons, being the freak athlete that he is, he's going to have to take a decision out of Hurts' hands and make it himself. And what we say by that is he can go in there and play both the run and the pass. I'm going to show you how that's done right here. Mr. Hurts is back there in the lineup. We see what he's got going on. He's extremely athletic. We don't want him on an edge like Isaiah was able to say right there. So for me as Parsons, as soon as I come off the football, I already see it, because they're ISOing me right now. They're going to either do the run or the pass based on what I perform. So what I'm going to do is, Mr. Parsons, since I have that athletic ability, is I'm going to play like I'm coming downhill for this run. As soon as he tucks that thing off, I'm putting my foot in the ground and I'm coming straight downhill. Now, if you're an average defensive end, this is almost impossible, because Hurts is going to be able to hit the corner on you and do damage to your defense. But when you have an athletic freak like Parsons, who runs a 4-3 out there, he can chase down any quarterback there is out there. Micah Parsons makes sure you make the decision for Hurts. When he pulls that ball out, stick your foot in the ground, get upfield, and make him get rid of that football as soon as possible. If we do not, this defense is in for a long afternoon.
So you guys have it right there. Those are the dangers of the RPO offense with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's how you utilize athleticism and the Dan Quinn wisdom to combat that. For now, that's it. See you guys back in the studio.
So as you can see there, all eyes are on Micah Parsons and that Dallas Cowboys linebacking core to get the job done against the Philadelphia weapons. But it's not only the weapons they're going up against the atmosphere. Micah Parsons and company are ready for the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas fans is feisty too. I mean, we got feisty fans. I mean, that's what we love about the game, though. The passion that the fans come with. That's what it's about. I mean, I can't be mad at someone for being passionate about something they love.
As a player, though, do you feed off of a crowd like the Eagles have, for lack of a better term, kind of rude?
I mean, I think we've kind of feed off of every crowd, you know. But at the end of the day, you're not really focused about the crowd. I'd be so locked in, I don't even hear the crowd sometimes, you know. That's the beauty about just being tone into the moment. You're just locked in on just trying to make that play, make that moment. You're not even too worried about what's going on behind you.
How well is the defense playing? In the challenge of facing an offense like the Eagles, which has mobile quarterbacks and playmaker receivers, a good running game?
You know, we're playing really well, but it's only as good as the game you play. So just because we did well against a good Rams offense doesn't mean we'll do good this week. We got to go out there and prove it. You know, you're only as good as the game you played, and, you know, we got to go out here and continue that type of success, you know. It can't just stop last week. You got to be continuous, you know, and that's just part of staying neutral and just staying grounded and, you know, focusing on the opponent ahead.
What's unique about the challenge the Eagles pose offensively with the running quarterback, all the RPOs?
I mean, they really don't have a weakness. I think they have three really good receivers. They got a great group of backs. They got a quarterback who's been pretty phenomenal this year in terms of continuing plays, making big plays. He made a big jump from last year. You know, it's a big challenge. We played some really good offenses, so, you know, I think we up to it. We just got to go out there and fight.
Micah Parsons himself has been nursing a bit of a groin injury over these last couple weeks, but he is expected to play. He is active. He was a full participant in practice on Friday as well. Back here with Nate Newton, and I really loved how Isaiah and Barry really broke that down and went back to the simplicity of trying to stop an RPO and how Dallas is going to have to continue to do so this week against Jalen Hurts. But where would this challenge rank for Micah Parsons and company? They've seen some pretty good offenses so far with Cincinnati, the Rams last week, Tampa Bay in the season opener. But where does the offense for Philadelphia rank?
It ranks pretty high. It's number one because they have no holes right now. They can throw, they can run. But what this kid got to go back to is defending the run. Because he's been in attack mode, and Dan Quinn has always kept him in attack mode. whether it's a run or a pass, he's been under attack. Now he's going to have to be a little bit more disciplined. He got great hand placement, so he got to shoot his hands more on these tackles and on these tight ends and make sure that he is not a run situation. And when he does go, he got to go in the right lane and at the right time to get this guy Jalen down to go inside to tackle Miles Sanders.
You know, and that's a great segue because Jalen Hurts isn't the only one in that backfield for Philadelphia that brings some talent. You look at Miles Sanders, Boston Scott's had some pretty good games against the Cowboys. These two guys have been a 1-2 punch in the backfield for quite some time. How does Dallas, outside of Micah Parsons, contain them along with trying to contain Jalen Hurts as well?
You know, what you got to do is you got to bring them to the ground. And in third and fourth plays, you got to bring them to the ground because they'll throw the ball coming out of the backfield. You got to make sure when they coming up in the middle on the run versus pass plays, you got to tackle them for no gain or either a 3-yard gain or less. You got to keep these guys bottled up. Somehow, some way, you got to turn this into a passing game for Jalen Hurts.
What type of pressure is on the outside for Dallas specifically? Because a lot of teams in the past, most notably New York in Week 3, when they were successful running the football, they did it outside the tackles. Who has the pressure on them to maybe come forward and make a stop and make those tackles?
Armstrong, D-Law, Fowler, these guys got to really stay home. And even the young Sam. You got to stay home. You got to two-gap these tight ends. You got to two-gap these offensive tackles. You got to stay home. You got to be very disciplined. You're going to hear that a lot in this show. Discipline, stay home. But in the end, you need for Jalen Hurts to try to beat us through the air.
Yeah, you got to try and make them one-dimensional, but force them to throw the football because you want to shut down the run. That's what Dallas is going to try and do. That's what Philadelphia is really going to try and do with Cooper Rush. They're going to dare Cooper Rush to throw the football, and Ezekiel Elliott knows that. He's played in 11 of these rivalry matchups against the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's his thoughts on going back to Philly, where he's had some success in the past.
I don't know if there's any atmosphere like when we play the Eagles. Even if it's here or there, especially at night. So it's going to be electric in the stadium, and the emotions are going to be high, and it's going to be a fun environment.
What makes that place right? What makes that place different than other places?
I mean, what makes it different. You know exactly what makes it different. But anytime you get a chance to play on prime time under the lights, it's fun.
Is there any sense your defense has played great, but is there a sense that you're going to have to score more points than you're scoring right now at some point to be successful?
I think we do. I think eventually we'll have to start scoring more points, and I think just a lot of that starts with, fixing our third down problem. We've been good on third and short. We just got to, convert some more, those in the medium long range. But I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to get better at that, but I mean, right now defense is playing lights out. Hopefully we don't have to get better. No, but we want to get better for sure.
Ezekiel Elliott all smiles right now, and both him and Tony Pollard have made an impact this year. Ezekiel Elliott is the leading rusher, but Tony Pollard is the go-to big play threat. He owns all 4 of the longest plays for the Cowboys from scrimmage so far this season, back with Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback. And as you look at the 1-2 punch from Philadelphia, Dallas has some thunder and lightning of their own with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. There are their season numbers. Most notably, Ezekiel Elliott has the extra yards because of how many extra carries he has gotten. But Tony Pollard definitely plays a role back and forth. These two have really been good for the Cowboys here in 2022. Isaiah, which tailback do you think Dallas needs to lean on the most tonight?
Can I be frank with you, Kyle?
Absolutely.
I'm tired of the disparity between which running back should have more carries and which one should we lean on more. These guys are a tandem. They're a pair. I mean, these guys can come together as a group effort, as a running back by committee. They both complement each other, as my guy Nate Dogg always says. Zeke is the tenderizer.
That's right.
And then Pollard comes in there, and he's a lightning bolt. And both of these guys, they really play off of each other. If you put Pollard in there, he's going to stretch these guys and make them start over pursuing. And then you bring in Zeke, and Zeke comes downhill and he rolls them over. So both of these guys play well together. There's not any more one running back backfields in this league anymore. You're always going to have a two-headed monster, and these guys play well together.
Both can catch, both can run, both can do their thing. Zeke in these last few games, they've been letting him run it a little bit more, and I think that'll go as this game here because you're facing a big, tough guy in Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, or Jordan Davis. These guys are 6'5", 335 greasy pounds, and they ain't playing. You need Zeke to tenderize, and you need the big play of Tony. Both of these guys are apparel like my man Zeus has just said.
How much of that pressure relies on the offensive line, though, to go up against this Philadelphia front seven, because they have some guys on that side as well. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave. They're all up front there, Nate. How do your linemen get it done?
We'll just fight, grit, and technique. Don't forget what you worked on all week. Don't abandon your technique. But in the end, fight, gouge, do whatever you got to do to keep them off your running backs and your quarterback.
I agree. It's going to come down to the interior offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys. These guys are going to have to really go out there and prove that they should be in this league. Because you just mentioned the big boys in the middle. You got to have Hargrave, you have Cox, you have Davis. But the guys that you can't forget about, and the guys that you can't get so caught up trying to play those guys, you can't forget about Graham. You can't forget about Sweat. You can't forget about Reddick. All three of those guys can kill you as well single-handedly if you start trying to double team those interior defensive linemen.
So we heard from Nate earlier, based on who he wants in the middle with McGovern and Peters, who would you rather have in the middle?
I would much rather have Peters, because if you think about it, you have Tyler Biadasz as a center position. Sure. Now, you would love for him to look to his left and see 9 Pro Bowls. You would love for him to look to his right and see 7. 16 Pro Bowls of wisdom on each side of you is something that you would love to look forward to in a game that's going to be as highly as emotional as this one.
And just pure size, too. It helps things out as
well.
well.
I'm with that. 65 plays. Quit with the rotation. 65 plays. Get the continuity going. So if they is able to beat Philadelphia, they can go into the next game rolling.
You can hear Nate Newton from Philadelphia, Kellen Moore. Pick one and stick with it. Pick one and go with them, whether it's Connor McGovern or Jason Peters. Both have played well when they've been in the lineup. We'll see which one gets the majority of the snaps tonight. Speaking of playing well when they're in the lineup, the wide receivers for the Cowboys starting to find a bit of a rhythm. Michael Gallup after his return from injury. CeeDee Lamb after a slow start to the season. Both of them trying to continue that momentum into Philadelphia tonight.
Great player, first and foremost. I was just talking to my strength coach. Very light on his feet. He does everything well as far as the position goes, and I'm looking forward to seeing him soon.
Do you expect him to follow you all over the field, or do you expect different guys to be with you?
It is what it is. If I see him, I see him. If I don't, I don't.
Do you have a preference? Yeah.
No.
Is there any change for you if that does happen?
No, nothing's going to change. We're going to go in, still running our plays, still doing what we got to do to, come out victorious.
What's that environment like playing there?
It's different. It's different. I played there for the first time with fans last year, and it was crazy. Philly fans are crazy for sure. They're diehards about their team, and that's what makes the game, as exciting as it is.
A couple years ago, people were calling this the NFC least. Now they're saying it's NFC beast. What does that change in terms of having the division be stronger, in terms of maybe that prepares you guys better for the playoffs?
I would definitely say so. Can't hurt. But, we're just worried about us. We ain't worried about nobody else in our division. You just got to play your game, do what you're supposed to do so you can get to the playoffs.
Is there some different way that you kind of soak up opportunity at a rivalry game like this?
No. Not really. I wouldn't see him 2 times a year. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
How eager are you guys to get back to the way you played on offense or scored on offense in previous years?
Always eager. You always want to score points. Always want to, win ball games by a large margin. So trying to get there for sure.
What challenge do the Eagles present defensively with the corner combination?
And they got some good corners over there. Gonna be a good one. It's all what happens in the trenches first, though. So.
Michael Gallup back in the fold for the 3rd straight week with this Dallas Cowboys team. Jalen Tolbert is active today, by the way, with Simi Fehoko going on the injured reserve list earlier in the week. Back here with Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. What's one way to beat the Eagles front seven? Get to the outside. Use those wide receivers on the edge. That sounds easy, right? Well, if you look at the numbers with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Dalton Schultz, it doesn't necessarily look easy. Dalton Schultz not available tonight. Michael Gallup, he's been injured. He's still trying to get back in the fold, but he certainly looks like he is picking up steam. Then it's up to CeeDee Lamb, who has been that #1 target. And Barry Church, when you look at these guys, how much are they needed tonight? Because that Eagles secondary is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, Kyle, but these wide receivers ain't gonna do much tonight. All right, when you talk about coverage, that Philadelphia Eagles secondary, they're extremely sticky out there. When you talk about going against the pass, they're 5th in the National Football League defending the pass. So I don't like the matchup overall with them. You look at the guys they added, Gardner Johnson at safety, James Bradbury at the other corner spot. There's no glaring weaknesses to this secondary out there. But it's not all bad news for the Cowboys because they've been on this win streak. And if they continue to do what they've been doing, which is leaning on the ground game, that's where I think they can affect this Philadelphia defense and have some success.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you, Barry. It's simply because of the fact these guys are going to have to play so physical. I know last week we had Ramsey as a big challenge, okay, in terms of that one defensive back in the secondary for the Rams. But these guys, and you talked about Gardner Johnson, they brought him in simply because of the attitude that he presents. This guy brings that McNasty. He wants these guys playing tough. We talked about the front seven and how physical these guys are, how big they are. Well, in the secondary, they just run around and hit. They want to get in your hip pocket. They want to pull on you. They want to hear the fans talking and woofing in your ear. These guys are going to be challenged, and that is the Dallas Cowboys receivers, to not only run their routes effectively at the correct depth, have the timing and with Cooper Rush, catch contested passes, but also they're going to go out there and block.
Yeah, they are going to do so against James Bradbury and Darius Slay. Both of those guys have multiple interceptions. They lead the league in pass breakups. They have been so good all year long, and that umbrella on the back end is going to really challenge Dallas down the field. So we mentioned it earlier with Dalton Schultz being inactive. How much does that waver your confidence level in the tight end position with him not in the fold, Isaiah?
It hurts, and it has been that way all year long. You see some of the numbers that you just presented a little while ago. This tight end group has not been able to get out and run routes. Why? What's been the primary objective? Well, keeping Cooper Rush from turning the ball over. Well, how do you do that? You max protect. These tight ends have been sitting in there in the hip pockets of these offensive tackles, ensuring the safety and security of Cooper Rush. What happens now when you're faced against an opponent that's going to force you to score more points and you have to get your tight end out? These guys are going to have to run effective routes, be sure-handed, and make sure at the same time that this quarterback stays protected.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this game, they're definitely going to be missing Dalton Schultz out there for sure. But when you talk about the grand scheme of things, I think once Dak Prescott gets back into the lineup, I think he'll be able to get more usage out of these tight ends. I know Schultz has been dealing with some injuries, and overall production as a tight end unit has been down. But once Dak gets back in the fold, he'll be able to use Dalton Schultz as that security blanket. But at tonight, they're definitely going to miss that man out there.
Out of Hendershot and Ferguson, who do you think will play the majority of the time tonight? Because basically it's going to be a question of, do you need a receiver or do you need an extra blocker in the fold?
I think it's going to be Hendershot. I think Hendershot is the primary tight end when Schultz is not there. That's the reason why they drafted him. It's the reason why he probably was going to be the guy who replaces Schultz at whatever point in time. But when you start talking about the opportunity to make big plays down the field, it's not going to be Hendershot.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a 1-2 punch, and then Hendershot's able to go downfield a little bit as well. Philadelphia has their weapons, too, because we just talked about the defensive side of the football. They've got some guys that can beat the secondary for the Cowboys, who is loaded as well. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert at the tight end position. All three of these guys, you just look at their numbers compared to the Dallas top three wide receivers that we talked about a moment ago, it doesn't even compare. All three of these guys have been getting the football. They've been doing so effectively, and their stat lines reflect that, Barry.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, all three of these guys are the real deal. And when you're talking about the secondary, I think one way that you can defend these guys is you got to be physical with them at the line of scrimmage. If you're able to be physical with them, you throw off that timing between Hurts and his receivers. But the big key, I think, to limiting this passing attack is you've got to keep Hurts in the pocket. If he's able to consistently get out of the pocket and extend plays, the Dallas Cowboys defense is going to be in for a long afternoon because that's what he does best. Once he gets around that pocket, these receivers, they're too good in the National Football League. I don't care how good you are in the back end. You can't cover a guy for longer than 5-6 seconds. So to me, keep the guy in the pocket, make him a pocket passer. I think you have your best opportunity to do damage to that Philadelphia offense.
Y'all just heard it from DB himself, and DBBC. This guy just told you exactly what you have to do. Stay in this guy's hip pocket. Your best asset is going to be your front seven and being able to get home against Hurts. Keep him bottled up because, to your point, Barry, you can't defend any receiver in this league for 5 to 6 seconds. And the moment that Jalen Hurts gets out the pocket, he puts you in a dill pickle. He makes you either go back there and guard these guys in terms of their scramble drill, where they're going to turn away and go up the field and you look for that deep pass. And as soon as you turn your back, who's going to be running right up the sideline? Jalen Hurts.
Barry, when it does happen like that and Hurts gets out of the pocket, who does that put more pressure on, the safeties or the corners?
I would say the corners, because they go into a plaster drill. Safeties, you at least got your vision on Hurts out there. Corners, if they take, like Isaiah said, those receivers turn up field and get going, you got to have your eyes glued to the wide receiver. And it's a heck of a job to do that. Now, the longer he has out there to extend the play, the longer the corner's going to have to do that. And exactly like I said, it's impossible to do that to receivers. They're too good in this league.
You've got the speed of Devontae Smith on one side. You've got the physicality and speed, if you want to add that in there with A.J. Brown, too. It's a 1-2 punch, much like we just talked about with Pollard and Zeke. They've got that from their receivers that throw these secondaries off balance, and they have all year long to aid Jalen Hurts, who isn't the strongest arm in the league, but he's strong enough to get it to guys that are wide open, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith certainly do that. Here's what Trayvon Diggs had to say about facing those wide receivers and trying to slow down those weapons.
We just got to stay true to our defense, do what we do best, and that's execute. Just be correct with our eyes and make all the right choices and decisions.
How different is Hurts from what you saw last year?
I see that he's a lot better from last year. I play with him. I know how hard he works. I know his work ethic. I know he's always going to get better every year, So, we just got to be prepared, He's doing really good this season, and we just got to come ready.
Where have you seen the improvement he's made?
His decision-making, his making the right decisions, throwing the ball, his running abilities, everything, his whole game increased. So.
Trayvon, how much do you like the challenge of the one-on-one challenge of matching up with a receiver and going all over the place with him?
How you know we match him?
I don't know.
But if we decide to do that, it'll be a great challenge for us. I got all the confidence in our guys, match up anywhere with anyone. So, it's exciting, competitive, ready.
Trayvon, you're at the top of the league in terms of scoring. You guys have yet to give up more than a touchdown a game. Just how much do you guys relish that challenge and keeping that trend going for you guys?
Yeah, really it's just a standard for us, holding teams to, less points, just doing our job as a whole defense, executing all our calls and just, doing what Coach Q wants us to do.
Trayvon Diggs knows the challenge that's at hand for that Dallas defense, that they want to continue their dominance that they've shown through the first 5 weeks of the season into Week 6 in Philadelphia. Speaking of Philadelphia, let's go back out to Lincoln Financial Field and hear from Stephen Jones, who joins our very own Nick Eatman.
Thanks, guys. I'm with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, and Sunday Night Football, undefeated Eagles, 4-1 Cowboys. You guys have won 4 in a row. I mean, this feels like a big game. Does it feel that way for you?
Well, it doesn't get any better than this. I was talking to one of our guys yesterday, and they were telling me it's the first time this late in the season when the two teams meet, there's only one loss between the two. Wow. Not that matters. When you're playing on this stage in the NFC East, you're playing for first place. You're up here in Philadelphia where it's obviously a fired up, spicy crowd, if you will. This is why you get involved in the NFL. And certainly this is going to be, I'm sure, a great, intense, competitive game tonight. And we just look forward to kicking it off.
Earlier in the week, you said it was going to be festive, and now you've changed it to spicy. I like it. I like that. That's where we've jumped to. Usually we talk about players that are going to play, but I got to ask you about a guy that's not playing tonight, but Dak Prescott still got some throws. Did you get a chance to see them?
Yes, I did, and he's really coming around good. Obviously fighting through the coming back of getting your shoulder in the proper shape, getting your hand to where it feels good without it staying sore. But I think he's making tremendous progress. Certainly going to be sooner than later when we get to see him back in a uniform. He's the ultimate competitor. I know he's dying to be out there tonight, but we also know this is a long season, and we got to make sure that we do this in the proper way.
How about Dalton Schultz? He's also inactive. He practiced some this week. Were you surprised that he wasn't able to go tonight?
Yeah, we were kind of surprised, but, if there was any way he could do it, he would do it. He tweaked that thing Saturday, in practice. And, one of his greatest qualities is availability, and not unlike Dak. I know he wants to be out there competing. We'll miss him. He's a very productive player for us. But at the same time, we've got some good young guys. We drafted Ferguson, obviously, brought in Hendershot, and then McKeon has always been a guy right there as a roster-type player. So we like the group we'll go to war with tonight, and here we go.
Well, how about on the other side of the ball? Obviously, Micah Parsons didn't play up here. He's a Pennsylvania guy. Didn't play up here last year. Expect he's going to be one of many that's going to be keeping their eyes on Jalen Hurts.
Well, he is, and, like I said last week, he checked another box, which is play when you're not 100%. And he went out there and played at a high level last week when he wasn't 100%. I know he's looking forward to this game. And like I said, we need all hands on deck, and here we go.
All right, here we go is right. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick, from out there at the sidelines of Lincoln Financial Field. Just about set for kickoff. We're about 20 minutes away on NBC. It'll be Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth on the call, but we've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton here to break it down for you with the keys to the game here from the Star in Frisco. You've won a couple of these matchups. All of you have in your careers. Barry, how do they get it done and go to 5-1?
All right, I'm on the defensive side of the ball this time. Defense, you got to keep Hurts in the pocket. If you let him outside that pocket consistently and he's able to extend plays, it's going to be a long afternoon, not only for that secondary, but for the defense as a whole. You got to keep that man contained. Force him to be a pocket passer out there. I don't believe he can beat you that way. Keep him in the pocket, fellas.
Okay, well, since you went defense, I'm going to hop over to the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to say, Kellen Moore and Cooper Rush, you need to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in order to get this W today. If you don't, we all going to be sad in the postgame show.
303?
303.
You said 303 touchdowns?
303 touchdowns.
It through the air, doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Maybe he rushes
for 3 of them joints.
We're going to be sad.
Rush with the rushing touchdown.
This is going to come down to who make the less mistakes. Coach Johnson always told us in big games like this, who can make the critical play at the end of the game, but more importantly, who can go through the game and make the least bad plays, and that's who will win this game.
That's a little more realistic than Isaiah.
Hey, I'm telling you what it's going to take.
303?
I'm telling you what it's going to take.
Man. Do you think he will do?
There hasn't been one game this year that Cooper Rush has thrown the ball for over 250 yards. You're playing against the #1 defense in the league. If you don't find a way to put over 250 yards in the air, because it's going to be really hard running this ball, you're going to be struggling tonight.
That doesn't answer the question. Do you think he does it?
Yes.
Ooh,
4 passes over 15 yards. I struggled at the beginning, but at the end, 4 passes over 15 yards.
He's ending it by
yourself,
I struggled at the beginning.
By 1.
By 1. Cowboys by 1. It's going to be a fun one in Philadelphia. Hope you enjoyed as much as we do. We'll be here to break it all down for you when it comes to an end from the Star in Frisco. For Barry, Isaiah, for Nate, and our entire Dallas Cowboys crew, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from Cowboys Pregame Live. It's the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles coming up at 7:20 on NBC.